Hello everyone. I hope your FR papers went well. And now it's time to leave that chapter behind and move on into your next paper, your AFM paper. So in this video, I'm going to discuss about your 1.5 days study strategy on the sequence of the topics, whether you need to pick up and do all the practical sums, how many sums to be done, which sums to be done, and also what are the resources that you can possibly refer. So over here, now that FR is done and dusted, the luxury of that you had of maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 days of FR is not there in AFM, and hence, no matter how your paper went, you kind of have to pack your bags and get into the working as soon as possible. So effectively, if you go to see, you will have approximately 6 hours as on the FR day, that is today. Then maybe tomorrow, I would say 12 hours. That is something that I think you can clock at least during the exam days. And then the day after the day before your exams, let's say another 5 to 6 hours if you can clock in. So in total, at best, you will have close to 25 odd hours to complete this massive course. And you've tried to do this in 3 days earlier as well, but it does not get over. And as a result, if you sit and pick up and do each and every sum, it is not going to work out. So how do we do? Well, you'll have to have dedicated time frames and ensure that you stick to them. Do I need to do all the questions? I don't think so. If you have marked the questions, great. You will review the questions which are important. If you have highlighted the adjustments, then you'll review the highlight adjustments which are important. Otherwise, we have shared these important questions list earlier. If you have this handy, so this is your LDR questions as well as we have shared a Super 90 questions. I would not say that you just do Super 90. You will do the important questions. And if there is a topic where you have relatively limited time or limited revisions you have done in the past only for those topics, do refer only the Super 91. Super 91s are those questions where you need to emphasize more, but not the only questions. You have a good 25 hours that is not going to be invested in doing just 90 questions. So over here, try to do the important questions. If there are total 500 odd questions in your AFM, we have tried to come down to around 200, 220 odd questions that you should be trying to complete. In terms of the sequence, again, you can customize the sequence in a manner you think is appropriate. But I would say today, you should try to complete the valuation and the mergers part. When you get started with valuation, maybe you will still have some overhang of FR. As much as possible, just try to get that away from your mind and focus on your AFM. Get your security valuation around 2.5 to 3 hours. And again, mergers around 2 to 2.5 hours. So that is approximately 6 hours if you can pull out today, nothing like it. We have also mentioned about a few focus areas over here. This is for bonds like YTM and duration, for equity like free cash flow and Gordon's valuation and convertibles, and so on for each of these chapters. So I'll share this on your Telegram on my Telegram channel. I can refer the same from there. Then on the second day, this is your major day. Over here, you will sit and try to complete when you are waking up fresh. With a fresh mind, try to do foreign exchange. This is kind of the biggest of those chapters and something which kind of haunts you. You don't want to put this right up to the end, and hence spend a good 3 to 4 hours doing foreign exchange. Again, try to touch upon the important topics like your parity theories, like your fate of forwards, especially the cancellation, extension, etc. And try to do this chapter properly. Again, try to do all the important questions. You don't need to sit and solve them. You can just review them, and for a few of them, at least do them in rough or on your calculator. The next attached question or chapter with that is the international financial management. You can actually club this along with capital budgeting as well. They've kept capital budgeting a little late because that involves a lot of calculations, and if you are reasonably comfortable, most of the capital budgeting part can be managed and not really require you to sit and solve everything for probabilities or certainty equivalents. So over here, either you do capital budgeting along with or after IFM, or you do it at the last where you can kind of quickly read through if you have relatively limited time. So this takes care of the forex type of the section. Then you have portfolio, mutual funds, risk management based valuation. So over your portfolio will take a relatively longer time, where maybe brushing up on your formulas across this chapter is very important to ensure that those small things, what comes in the numerator, what comes in the denominator, you manage that. Then you have mutual funds, risk management, just value at risk. In business valuation, there is a bit of theory involving startup valuation, distressed valuation. You should review that. Then you go to derivatives and interest rates. Now, this is something again which poses a bit of a problem. But well, you have just one day. There's no point keeping this on the day of your exam. So I know you'll be a little fatigued over here. Maybe you can take a small break before you start derivatives. But do derivatives and interest rate to the extent possible tomorrow itself. And over here, there will be places where you may not be able to recollect everything. Remember, it's a fairly big subject and you have just 1.5 days to compress. So to figure out each and everything may not always work, but ensuring that you keep that continuity in place is very, very important. Just keep the ball rolling. If you don't recollect something, that's fine. Read it and proceed it further. At this point, don't sit and introspect that why am I not able to recollect. In the exam, if you have touched upon things over these 1.5 days, you will be able to kind of reproduce that fairly well. And then at the end, you keep capital budgeting. So over here, you do have some buffer to be kept on the last day where we keep theory. Now, in the last exam that had gone by November 24, your theory was asked for a relatively lesser weightage as compared to all the earlier attempts. So over here, when you do theory, at least focus on the core theory topics, that is startup finance, the first chapter on financial policy and strategy, risk management, as well as securitization. There will be definitely a question or if not two from these. From the other topics, we have a theory compiler, PDF, which I'll share, which I've already shared. I'll reshare it again if possible on Telegram, and 2 videos which are there on the playlist, which you can review as well for a complete understanding. So keep a good 3 to 4 hours for your theory, because the later you do it, the retention is relatively good. And then there is some buffer and recap. You don't have time to do anything new at this point. You will focus on whatever is done. That too, the important questions. You don't need to review the MCQs, etc. separately at this stage. Just focus on reviewing the, let's say, if you have our shield, or let's say if you have a separate summary book or something, just focus on that for the concepts and adjustments, and focus on the important questions that are marked, and you should get done. If you want, we have a playlist on YouTube. I'll just try to pull that up, so you can just access that. We have all the chapters, revision videos with important questions, largely from the Super 90 file that we have shared. So over here, this is for the theory topics, and this is for all the chapters. So if you look at each and every chapter, I don't know, this is not opening up properly, but you'll have each of these chapters. Okay, there you go. Bonds, equity, mergers. For each of them, you will have videos, and the last 2 videos are for theory, which is there, which is relevant, and that is what you should try to largely focus on. So just ensure that you kind of keep your continuity of studying and ensuring that you utilize the 1.5 days to the best possible way. If you at the middle kind of feel a little lost, try to switch on to some easier topic like a risk management or something like a mutual fund, which can give you some momentum to kind of continue. But ensure that you don't stop at a particular chapter and just keep staring at your book. Just keep on turning the pages as much as possible. Things, some of them will go in your mind, some of them you'll have to brush through, but touching upon the last 1.5 days is extremely important. Okay, so that should be it. Keep studying hard. Wish you all the very best, and I'm sure you are going to ace AFM in this exam. Goodbye, good luck, and take care.